What is one of the dumbest things you've done when your brain was on autopilot? I work at a busy restaurant, so I end up saying corner hundreds of times a night as I go back and forth around corners and doorways in the kitchen was running food to a table. Set it down gently, and in my sweetest customer service voice I said corner while looking the customer right in the eye instead of here is your soup or something like I usually do. They looked confused. My brain tried to reset, and so naturally I said thank you, as if that made it better. I ended up just backing away. It was a lost cause. Oh man, restaurant callouts just stick with you. I did something similar when at the grocery store. I was walking around an older lady to get to the cheese and just belted out behind. Scared the crap out of the poor thing. This is a while ago, but I was working at McDonald's and worked in the morning, not a morning person. Still not. My brain wakes up around 10 AM and I think it was like 8 AM. And I handed this lady her large coffee and the sun shined bright in my eyes and all I said was praise the sun and she looked at me all weird and drove off. Lifted my welding mask up and forgot it was on my head, then went to get a new mask. This reminds me of the multiple times a week I hunt around for my glasses as they sit on the top of my head. I've also spent ages looking for my phone before my kids point out it's in my hand. I need more sleep, clearly. I shook my phone to see how full the battery was. I was a kitchen employee at Arby's when I was 18. We used to have sub rolls that were foot long, but the only subs we sold were 6-inch. So you had to cut each roll in half before you used it. I was just zoned out one day and I ended up cutting the sub roll in half, putting the knife back in the sub roll bag, and then trying to use the sub roll to cut the next sandwich. My manager saw it and freaking died. I was trying to make some scrambled eggs. Basic prep: crack the eggs, put the eggs in a bowl, toss the shell. My dumbass, crack the egg, put egg in the trash. I literally stood above the trash can with the shell in my hands processing what had just happened for about 30 seconds. I just had the faint feeling of I fricked up and was wondering exactly how for way too long. Not me, but one time my GF got handed her drink at Starbucks, said thanks, went over to the bar to get cream or something, and immediately dropped her fresh drink straight into the trash can at the bar. Her mother and I just looked at her and started laughing. The barista saw what happened and with a it happens attitude agreed to replace the drink. It also helped that no one was in there except us, haha. We still bring it up every now and then and all laugh, my GF included. I put my dirty plate in the freezer instead of the dishwasher. Thrown a bowl of cereal on my bed. God blessed me, because even though it was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I like to eat it dry. I slathered my face with hair gel this morning. I was working fast food and taking orders both inside and for the drive-thru. I took someone's order inside at the counter and told them to pull forward to the second window. Put a dog biscuit into the washing machine instead of a detergent pod. I realized before turning it on, so I was able to recover it. Drove 17 miles past my interstate exit before I snapped back to reality. I drove about the same distance during which my memory is non-existent. But during that time, I successfully and correctly turned off at the correct exit, stopped at a toll booth, and took the toll stub from the machine. It proved to me that driving on autopilot existed well before the technology was even invented. I went inside the gas station, paid, then drove off. Twice. Didn't even fill up, just drove away. Edit, changed satiation to station before the car satiation jokes become too terrible to bear. My brother ordered nachos at a Mexican restaurant, grabbed a chip and proceed to watch himself dip it into his tea. After about 2 dips, he came back into reality, shook his head and went, "What?" My mother is an EMT. After a 24-hour shift she came home and tried to unlock the front door with her car keys button and did that for about 5 minutes. I once drove to work when I was supposed to drop my younger brother off at school. Neither of us seemed to notice until we got to my workplace and I had turn around. He was late. I've gotten in my car on the weekends to go somewhere and gone on autopilot and realize it is pulling into my work's parking lot. I'm like, Why the frick did I drive to work? I pet my laptop thinking it was my dog. I pet my friend's brother-in-law while we are watching a movie and he was sitting on the floor. We had just met about 3 hours prior. Edit. Thank you for the gold. It made my embarrassment worth it. Went to the gym, walked right past the desk where you check in and get a locker key, walked into the locker room, stood in front of a locker and was absolutely puzzled about what to do next. Was holding my phone and ice cream in a cone. Phone rang, answered ice cream. A sticky ear is surprisingly uncomfortable. Put a used fork in the trash can instead of the dishwasher. Edit. It's a dishwasher, not a washing machine. Seems I was still on autopilot when I wrote this. Continuously jammed my work key into my house door. My work key is a big silver one and my house key is one of those picture ones with a bunny on it. I poured soda into a bowl. Swiped up on a paper magazine like it was a scrap. Was brushing my teeth and went to throw something away but ended up spitting all over the floor instead. Had a drink in my hand and dumped it out because I checked the time on my watch. A couple of weeks ago, I was driving home, but instead of going to my current house, I drove to my old house. I haven't lived there in over 5 years. I pulled into the driveway and luckily I realized what I had done before I actually got out of the car. I had a dislocated knee and kicked a soccer ball that was coming towards me. Walked naked in my son's bedroom. I was stepping out of the shower and his bedroom used to be mine in my childhood. Put the cereal box in the fridge. Wake up in the middle of the night to take a pee, then just autopiloted into my morning routine. It wasn't until after I drank my coffee that I realized it was only 3 AM and that I wasn't going to be able to go back to sleep. I took a nap after work, woke up at 7 PM and the sky was about the same color it is in the morning. I went into immediate autopilot and made coffee, packed my lunch, and realized what I'd done when I was halfway downtown. My brother used the washroom before bedtime and it was my turn to go now. I wanted to brush and we had newly shifted so everything was in a mess and hence I couldn't find the toothpaste. So I asked my bro where he kept it and when I couldn't find it where he said it was, he came to check himself and handed me the shaving cream. When I pointed it out, he said that's why it tasted odd. I just thought it was from a different brand from around here. TLDR. My brother used shaving cream as toothpaste. The amount of times I've gone to the shop to buy something and left without picking up said item is too damn high. The other day I finally remembered to buy more toilet roll from the shop round the corner. But just as I got to my door on the way home realized I'd left the freaking toilet roll it paid for on the counter and left empty-handed. I once realized I forgot to buy something from the grocery store, left my bag full of already paid for stuff with one of the cashiers having of course first asked if it was okay and explaining the situation, went and got the thing, paid for it, and went back home. Didn't realize what I'd done until 2 days later when I was looking for the shopping bag I used and couldn't find it anywhere. Never got any of my stuff back, including the shopping bag. Apparently it was the most important thing to me out of all the stuff I had bought. Overshot an exit that I've used hundreds of times, didn't notice and ended up driving another 50 miles before realizing that I was way out of the city's boundaries. Still don't remember any of the in between, just starting to drive and then realizing I had no idea where I was. I picked shaving foam can instead of antiperspirant and sprayed on my underarm, took it as a sign from the Almighty, and ended up shaving my underarm. When I was a brand new mom on maternity leave, but still trying to juggle law school and a newborn, my sister-in-law had an emergency and had to leave her Boston Terrier with me. Even though he was a very well-behaved dog and had met the baby, we still kept them separated just in case. One morning, after my husband left for work, I picked up the baby up out of the bassinet and went downstairs to make coffee. My husband had forgotten something and promptly came right back in to find me at the counter, brewing coffee, rocking a black and white dog in one arm, while our son still quietly chilling in his bassinet upstairs. He took the day off from work and I went back to sleep. My mom had taken my lunch out of the fridge, so I wouldn't forget it, which I did once. While on autopilot I put it back. I have learned the hard way that if you hold money in one hand, you never have trash in the other. It is impossible to throw the correct item away. My morning routine included drive-through breakfast at McDonald's back when they had the garbage can in the lane. Every morning I'd get my breakfast, pull up, and throw away yesterday's old bag and random trash. One day my superior intellect decided to just simplify the process and chunk the new breakfast in the trash. Realized it the moment after it mattered. Pulled around for try #2. One evening I was playing Europa Universalis, and I was pretty immersed in the gamma play. Suddenly I thought I could grab a beer. So I paused the game and went to the fridge for one, but there were none. Weird, I was almost sure I had at least 3 bottles there. So I returned to the computer and all 3 bottles stood unopened on my desk. Apparently, I had the same thought 4 times already, but every time I got back to the computer I forgot about the beer and went back to playing without remembering the incident. My coworker was clearly right in front of me, bent down between me and the fridge. I cold reached for the door without seeing her. I smacked that fridge door right into her head and apologized profusely. She did mock me for having trouble opening a gallon of milk before that, so I guess monkey brain got angry and took control. I woke up, so I automatically got dressed, prepared things to school, and started making myself a breakfast. Suddenly my dad appears in the kitchen, saying, "It's 3 in the morning and it's Sunday. What the hell are you doing?" Reminds me of the time I got up and started writing a story based on the last song I heard on the radio at 2 AM. Mom asked me what I was doing up, and I said I have to finish you this. She told me that school had been out for 3 weeks. Put pasta on the stove, but forgot to add water. For another half hour, I was hearing the cackling noise of burning pasta and thinking, I wonder where this noise is coming from. The smell finally got to me. I woke up and saw that the clock said 6. Work started at 5. I shot out of bed, threw on clothes, and sped to work. Something seemed off, but I was late. No time for that now. I walked in, past an area that wasn't running on my shift yet, and thought to myself, HMN. Wonder when they started that. It started dawning on me when I made it to my line. There was the day shift person. The person I relieved every day when I showed up. She looked at me like I had 2 heads. It was 6 AM. I didn't have to work until 5 PM. I shamefully told the shift manager what happened, clocked back out, and went back to bed. I worked in that company for 4 years after that, and to my last day, my manager gave me shit about it. Peed in the trash can. Wasn't even thinking. Just got up, walked towards it, opened the lid thinking it's the toilet seat and let it rip. By the time I realized it, way too late, and I just committed to it. The bags are waterproof after all.